The little girl's eyes were filled with tears as she pressed her face against the cold mansion window, watching her father's car disappear down the long driveway. She opened her mouth to call out to him, but no sound came. It never did. At 6 years old, Amelia had never spoken a single word, and the doctors said she never would. Her small hands made frantic gestures, trying to tell him to come back, but the black car was already gone, swallowed by the morning fog. Inside the 40-room mansion, silence filled every corner like a heavy blanket. The staff moved quietly through the halls, speaking in whispers as if afraid to disturb the emptiness. Amelia wandered from room to room, her bare feet making soft sounds on the marble floors. She had learned to be invisible, just like her voice. 3 hours later, Keisha Johnson stood at the front gates of the Whitmore estate, clutching her cleaning supplies and fighting back her own tears. At 28, she had lost everything in the past 6 months. Her mother had passed away from cancer, leaving behind medical bills that ate up their small savings. Her job at the hospital had ended when they cut staff, and now she was 3 months behind on rent. The eviction notice crumpled in her jacket pocket felt like a weight on her heart. "Lord, please let this work out," she whispered, looking up at the massive iron gates. The job posting had been simple. Live-in housekeeper for a single father and his young daughter. Good pay, room and board included. It seemed too good to be true, but Keisha was desperate. The security guard buzzed her in, and she walked up the winding driveway, her mouth falling open at the sight of the mansion. It looked like something from a movie, with tall white columns and gardens that stretched as far as she could see. She had grown up in a 2-bedroom apartment in Detroit with her mama and 3 siblings. This place was bigger than her entire neighborhood. A stern-faced woman in a black dress met her at the front door. "You must be the new housekeeper. I'm Mrs. Patterson, the house manager. Mr. Whitmore is in meetings all day, so I'll show you around." Keisha followed her through rooms that seemed to go on forever. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings so high she had to crane her neck to see them. The furniture looked like it belonged in a museum, and everything was perfectly clean and perfectly quiet. Too quiet. "The child is not to be disturbed," Mrs. Patterson said as they climbed the grand staircase. "She has issues. Doesn't speak. Barely interacts with anyone. It's best if you just focus on your cleaning duties and stay out of her way." Keisha nodded, but something about the woman's cold tone made her stomach turn. She had worked with sick children at the hospital and knew that every child needed love and attention, especially those who couldn't ask for it. Her room was on the 3rd floor, small but comfortable with a window that looked out over the gardens. It was nicer than anywhere she had lived in years. She unpacked her few belongings and tried to push away the feeling that something was wrong in this perfect house. That evening, as she cleaned the main hallway, she heard a soft sound behind her. She turned to see a small girl with dark curly hair and the biggest brown eyes she had ever seen. The child was wearing a white nightgown and stood perfectly still, just watching. "Hey there, sweetheart," Keisha said softly, setting down her mop. "You must be Amelia." The little girl's eyes widened with surprise. Most adults either ignored her or spoke about her like she wasn't there. This woman was looking right at her, talking to her like she was a real person. Keisha knelt down to Amelia's level. "I'm Keisha. I'm going to be helping around the house. Are you okay? You look sad." Amelia's bottom lip trembled. She wanted to tell this kind woman about the nightmares, about how scared she got when her daddy left for his long business trips, about how nobody ever talked to her except to tell her to go to her room. But the words were trapped inside her, just like always. Instead, she did something she had never done before. She walked over to Keisha and wrapped her small arms around her neck. Keisha felt her heart break and heal at the same time. This little girl was starving for affection, and somehow she had chosen Keisha to trust. She hugged her back gently, feeling the child's tiny body shake with silent sobs. "It's okay, baby girl," Keisha whispered. "I'm here now." From that moment, everything changed. Amelia began following Keisha around the house as she worked. She would sit quietly in whatever room Keisha was cleaning, content just to be near someone who acknowledged her existence. Keisha talked to her constantly, telling her stories about growing up in Detroit, about her mama who used to braid her hair and sing gospel songs while she cooked. My mama always said that every person has a light inside them, Keisha told Amelia one afternoon as they sat in the garden. Some people's lights burn bright and loud, and some burn quiet and gentle. But they're all beautiful and they all matter. Amelia listened to every word, her eyes never leaving Keisha's face. For the first time in her life, she felt like someone truly saw her. But Mrs. Patterson didn't approve of their friendship. "You're here to clean, not play nursemaid," she snapped when she found them reading together in the library. "The child has tutors and therapists. She doesn't need you filling her head with nonsense." Keisha bit her tongue, but she continued to show Amelia love whenever they were alone. She taught her how to make friendship bracelets with colorful string, how to plant seeds in small pots, and how to dance to music that played softly from Keisha's phone. Amelia couldn't speak, but she could laugh, and Keisha made sure she had reasons to do it every day. 2 weeks into the job, Keisha still hadn't met Mr. Whitmore. He was always traveling or locked away in his office on the rare occasions he was home. She began to understand why Amelia seemed so lonely. Her father was there but not really there, and the staff treated her like a piece of furniture. One rainy Thursday afternoon, Keisha was cleaning the master bedroom when she found a photograph on the nightstand. It showed a beautiful black woman holding a baby, both of them smiling at the camera. The woman looked happy and full of life, nothing like the sadness that seemed to hang over this house. "That's my mommy," a small voice said behind her. Keisha spun around, her heart stopping. Amelia stood in the doorway, her eyes fixed on the photograph. "Did you just—" Keisha whispered, afraid to believe what she had heard. Amelia nodded, tears streaming down her face. "That's my mommy. She went to heaven when I was little." It was the first time Amelia had spoken in 6 years. Keisha's hands trembled as she knelt down beside Amelia. The little girl's voice was soft and hoarse, like she had forgotten how to use it, but it was the most beautiful sound Keisha had ever heard. "Yes, baby," Keisha said gently. "That's your mommy. She was very beautiful. She looks like she loved you so much." Amelia walked over and picked up the photograph with careful hands. "She used to sing to me. I remember her voice, but I lost mine when she died. The doctors said it was because I was too sad." Keisha felt tears running down her own cheeks. This precious child had been carrying such pain all by herself. Sometimes when we hurt real bad, our bodies try to protect us in different ways. But you found your voice again, sweetheart. That means you're healing. "I only want to talk to you," Amelia whispered. "You're nice to me like Mommy was. Everyone else just looks sad when they see me." For the next few days, their secret filled the house with new energy. Amelia would speak to Keisha in whispers when they were alone, sharing stories about dreams she had, questions about the flowers in the garden, and memories of her mother that she had kept locked inside for years. Keisha learned that Amelia's mother, Sarah, had died in a car accident when Amelia was 3. The trauma had stolen the little girl's voice, and nothing the doctors tried had brought it back. Her father, consumed by grief and guilt, had thrown himself into his business empire, leaving Amelia to be raised by a series of nannies and therapists who saw her as a problem to be managed rather than a child to be loved. "Daddy cries sometimes," Amelia told Keisha one morning as they made pancakes together in the kitchen. "I hear him at night when he thinks I'm sleeping. I want to tell him I'm okay, but I don't think he would hear me." "Why don't you think he would hear you?" Keisha asked, flipping a pancake. "Because he doesn't look at me the way you do. When he looks at me, he sees Mommy, and it makes him too sad to stay." Keisha's heart broke for both of them. A father drowning in grief and a daughter starving for love, both lost in the same house. That afternoon, while Amelia napped, Keisha made a decision. She knocked on the door of Mr. Whitmore's home office, where he was working as usual. "Come in," a deep voice called. Keisha had imagined him as some cold, heartless rich man, but when she saw David Whitmore for the first time, she saw something different. He was tall and handsome, probably in his early 40s, but his eyes looked much older. They were filled with the kind of pain that comes from losing everything that matters. He looked up from his computer with surprise. "You must be the new housekeeper. I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to introduce myself properly. How are you settling in?" "I'm doing fine, Mr. Whitmore. But I need to talk to you about Amelia." His face immediately hardened. "Is there a problem? Mrs. Patterson handles all matters concerning my daughter." "No, sir, there's no problem. There's a miracle." She told him everything. About how Amelia had started speaking, about the conversations they had been having, about how much his daughter missed him and wanted him to be happy. With every word, she watched the walls he had built around his heart begin to crack. "That's impossible," he whispered when she finished. "She hasn't spoken since the accident. The doctors said the trauma was too severe." "Sometimes healing comes in ways we don't expect," Keisha said softly. "She's been waiting for someone to really see her, to love her without trying to fix her or change her. She just needed to feel safe enough to find her voice again." David stared at the picture of his wife and daughter on his desk. "I haven't been a good father to her. I look at her and see Sarah, and it hurts so much I can barely breathe. I thought if I gave her everything money could buy, if I hired the best doctors and tutors, that would be enough. But I've been hiding from my own daughter." "It's not too late," Keisha said. "She loves you so much. She just wants her daddy back." That evening, David came to dinner for the first time in months. Amelia was so shocked to see him that she forgot to be quiet. "Daddy, you're home," she said, running to hug him. David went completely still, his eyes wide with disbelief. Then he dropped to his knees and pulled his daughter into his arms, both of them crying. "I'm so sorry, baby girl," he whispered into her hair. "Daddy's been lost, but I'm going to do better. I promise." "I missed you so much," Amelia said between sobs. "I wanted to tell you, but my words were stuck." "Your words are beautiful," David said, pulling back to look at her face. "I want to hear every single one." Over dinner, Amelia chattered like she was making up for 6 years of silence. She told her father about the flowers she was growing with Keisha, about the stories Keisha told her, about how she had been practicing writing letters to him even though she couldn't speak them. David listened to every word, his eyes never leaving his daughter's face. When Amelia mentioned how Keisha had helped her find her voice, he looked at Keisha with an expression of gratitude so deep it took her breath away. "Thank you," he said simply. "You gave me back my daughter." "She was always there," Keisha replied. "She just needed someone to listen." After Amelia went to bed, David and Keisha sat in the garden talking. He told her about Sarah, about how they had met in college and built their life together, about how losing her had felt like losing half of his soul. "I thought if I stayed busy enough, worked hard enough, the pain would go away," he said. "But I was just running from everything that mattered, including Amelia." "Grief doesn't have a timeline," Keisha said. "My mama always said that love doesn't die when someone passes on. It just changes shape. Your wife's love is still here in your daughter. Every time Amelia smiles or laughs or says something clever, that's Sarah living on through her." David was quiet for a long moment. "How did you get so wise?" Keisha smiled sadly. "Loss teaches you things you never wanted to learn. But it also shows you what really matters. And what matters is right here in this house, waiting for you to come home to her." The change in the Whitmore household was immediate and dramatic. David began working from home more often, having lunch with Amelia and asking about her day. He discovered that his daughter was incredibly bright, with a love for books and an imagination that amazed him. She had been reading at a high school level for years, teaching herself through the extensive library in their home. "I read all of Mommy's favorite books," Amelia told him one evening as they sat together in the library. "I thought maybe if I read them, I could understand her better." David pulled one of Sarah's old poetry books from the shelf, his fingers tracing the worn cover. "She used to read these to you when you were a baby. You would fall asleep to the sound of her voice. Will you read one to me now?" Amelia asked. As David read his late wife's favorite poem, his voice cracking with emotion, Keisha watched from the doorway. She had given them space to reconnect, but seeing them together filled her heart with joy. This was what family was supposed to look like. But Mrs. Patterson was not happy with the changes. She had run the household with military precision for 3 years, and all this warmth and laughter was disrupting her carefully maintained order. "The child is becoming unmanageable," she complained to David one morning. She's constantly talking now, asking questions, wanting to help with everything. And that housekeeper is filling her head with ideas above her station. What kind of ideas? David asked, his voice dangerously quiet. She has the girl believing she can do anything, be anything. It's creating unrealistic expectations. David looked at Mrs. Patterson for a long moment. You're right. We can't have someone around here who makes my daughter believe in herself. Pack your things. You're dismissed. Mrs. Patterson's mouth fell open. Mr. Whitmore, I don't think you understand. I understand perfectly. My daughter has found her voice, her joy, and her confidence. If you see that as a problem, then you don't belong in this house. With Mrs. Patterson gone, the atmosphere became even lighter. Keisha found herself taking on more responsibilities, not just as a housekeeper but as a part of the family. She helped Amelia with her lessons, cooked meals that filled the house with delicious smells, and slowly brought warmth back to rooms that had been cold for too long. David began to see Keisha differently too. She wasn't just the woman who had saved his relationship with his daughter. She was intelligent, kind, and had a strength that came from surviving real hardship. When she talked about growing up in Detroit, about working multiple jobs to help her family, about nursing her mother through cancer, he realized she had more resilience than anyone he had ever met. You could do anything, he told her one evening as they cleaned up after dinner together. Why housekeeping? Keisha was quiet for a moment. After Mama died, I lost my way for a while. Lost my job, lost my apartment. I needed something steady, something that would give me a roof over my head while I figured out what comes next. What do you want to come next? She smiled, but there was sadness in it. I always wanted to be a teacher. Had 2 years of college before Mama got sick and I had to drop out to take care of her. I used to dream about having my own classroom, helping kids learn and grow. What's stopping you now? Money, mostly. College is expensive, and I've got debts to pay off. Dreams are nice, but they don't pay the bills. David was quiet, but Keisha could see the wheels turning in his mind. Meanwhile, Amelia was blossoming in ways no one had expected. With her voice back, her personality shone through. She was funny and curious, always asking questions and making observations that surprised the adults around her. She had also become incredibly attached to Keisha, following her around and wanting to help with everything. Keisha, will you always live with us? Amelia asked one day as they planted new flowers in the garden. I don't know, sweetheart. I'm here now and that's what matters. But I want you to stay forever. You make Daddy smile again, and you make me feel brave. Keisha hugged her tight. You were always brave, baby girl. You just needed to remember it. That night, David found Keisha on the back porch, looking up at the stars. Amelia asked me today if you were going to be her new mommy, he said, sitting down beside her. Keisha's heart jumped. What did you tell her? I told her that some questions are too important to answer quickly. He turned to look at her. Keisha, what we have here, it's not just about the job anymore, is it? She met his eyes, seeing her own feelings reflected there. Over the past month, something had grown between them that neither had expected. It wasn't just gratitude or convenience. It was deeper than that. I care about you both so much, she said softly. But I know who I am and I know who you are. We come from different worlds. Money doesn't make a world, David said. Character does. Kindness does. Love does. And you have more of all three than anyone I've ever known. David. I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow, he said with a smile. I'm just asking you to think about the possibility that this could be real. That we could be a family. Before Keisha could respond, they heard a scream from inside the house. They ran toward the sound, David's heart pounding with fear. They found Amelia in the living room, standing over broken pieces of her mother's favorite vase. She was crying and shaking, the confident little girl from moments before replaced by a terrified child. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I was trying to put flowers in it for Mommy, and I dropped it. Please don't send me away. David knelt beside her. carefully avoiding the broken glass. "Sweetheart, why would I send you away? It's just a vase. Because I broke Mommy's favorite thing. And now she won't have anything pretty in heaven." Keisha's heart broke as she realized what was happening. Amelia had been so happy lately that she had forgotten about the fear that lived deep inside her. The fear that if she did something wrong, everyone would leave her just like her mother had. "Baby girl," Keisha said softly, sitting down on the floor with them. "Your mommy didn't go to heaven because of anything you did. And she doesn't need a vase to remember how much she loves you." "But I broke it," Amelia whispered. David picked up one of the larger pieces, a section with hand-painted roses. "You know what? Your mommy loved this vase because it held beautiful flowers. But you know what she loved more? You. And maybe we can make something even more special with these pieces." Over the next few days, they worked together to create a memory garden in the backyard. They used the pieces of the broken vase to make a beautiful mosaic stepping stone, with Amelia helping to arrange each piece. Around it, they planted Sarah's favorite flowers, roses, jasmine, and lavender. "Now Mommy's favorite things are growing," Amelia said as they finished. "And they'll come back every year." It was during this project that something shifted for all of them. Working with their hands, talking about Sarah, and creating beauty from something broken helped them understand that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means carrying love forward in new ways. But their happiness was threatened when David's business partner, Richard, came for an unexpected visit. Richard was old-fashioned and judgmental, the kind of man who believed that people should stay in their assigned places in life. "David, we need to talk," Richard said, eyeing Keisha with obvious disapproval as she served them coffee in the office. After Keisha left the room, Richard didn't waste time. "I've heard rumors about you and the help. This can't continue. What I do in my personal life is none of your business," David said coldly. "It is when it affects our company. Our clients expect a certain image from us. Having you involved with the hired help reflects poorly on all of us. Keisha is not the help. She's a remarkable woman who saved my family. She's a gold digger who saw an opportunity and took it. Wake up, David. She's probably planning to trap you with some sob story about her difficult past." David stood up, his face dangerous. "Get out of my house. Now." "David, think about what you're risking. Your reputation, your business, Amelia's future. Is some cleaning woman really worth all that? That cleaning woman is worth more than you could ever understand. And if you ever speak about her that way again, our partnership is over." Richard left, but his words planted seeds of doubt that David tried hard to ignore. The truth was, he had been thinking about his relationship with Keisha and what it might mean for Amelia's future. He loved them both, but was he being selfish? Would his feelings for Keisha somehow hurt his daughter in the long run? That evening, he was quiet during dinner, distracted and worried. Amelia noticed immediately. "Daddy, are you sad again?" she asked. "Just thinking, sweetheart. Are you thinking about Mommy?" Among other things. Amelia looked at Keisha, then back at her father. "Daddy, I think Mommy would like Keisha." "What makes you say that?" "Because Keisha makes us happy the way Mommy used to. And Mommy always wanted us to be happy." Later that night, David found Keisha packing her things. "What are you doing?" he asked, panic rising in his chest. "I heard what your friend said today," she replied without looking at him. "He's right about some things. This situation isn't fair to you or Amelia." "So you're just going to leave?" "I'm going to do what's best for everyone." She turned to face him, tears in her eyes. "I love you, David. I love Amelia. But love isn't always enough to overcome the differences between people." "What differences?" "The money. Keisha, I don't care about any of that. But the world does. And someday Amelia will have to live in that world. I won't be the reason people judge her or treat her differently." "You're not running from the world's judgment," David said quietly. "You're running from your own fear." "Maybe I am. But sometimes fear keeps us from making mistakes that hurt the people we love." Before David could respond, they heard footsteps in the hallway. Amelia appeared in the doorway, clutching her favorite stuffed animal. "Keisha, why are you packing?" she asked, her voice small and frightened. Keisha knelt down to Amelia's level, fighting back tears. "Sometimes grown-ups have to make hard choices, baby girl." "Are you leaving because I broke Mommy's vase?" "Oh no, sweetheart. This has nothing to do with you." "Then why?" Amelia's eyes filled with tears. "I thought we were going to be a family. I thought you were going to stay forever." "I will always love you," Keisha said, pulling her into a hug. "Always. No matter where I am." "But I need you here," Amelia sobbed. "You helped me find my voice. Who's going to help me be brave when you're gone?" Keisha looked up at David, her heart breaking. How could she explain to a 6-year-old that sometimes love meant walking away? That night, none of them slept well. Amelia cried herself to sleep, while David paced the floors and Keisha stared at the ceiling, wondering if she was making the biggest mistake of her life. The next morning, Amelia was unusually quiet. She didn't chatter at breakfast or ask to help with anything. She just sat in the garden, looking at the memory stone they had made together. David found her there, sitting with her knees pulled up to her chest. "Talk to me, sweetheart," he said, sitting beside her. "I don't want to," she whispered. "Why not?" "Because every time I love someone they go away. First Mommy, now Keisha. Maybe if I stop talking again it won't hurt so much." David felt like he had been punched in the chest. His daughter was willing to give up her voice again rather than risk the pain of losing someone she loved. "Amelia, look at me." When she turned her tear-stained face toward him, he continued. "Mommy didn't choose to leave us. That was an accident, and it wasn't anyone's fault. But Keisha is choosing to leave because she thinks it's better for us." "Is it better? What do you think?" "I think it's the worst thing ever. I think our house is going to be sad and quiet again, and you're going to work all the time, and I'm going to forget how to be happy." David pulled her into his lap. "Then we need to show Keisha that she's wrong. We need to show her that we're stronger together than apart." "How?" "By being brave. By fighting for our family." An hour later, David was on the phone with his lawyer, his accountant, and his business manager. By noon, he had made decisions that would change their lives forever. He found Keisha in the kitchen, mechanically cleaning counters that were already spotless. "There's something I need to tell you," he said. She didn't look up. "If this is about me staying, David, I'm selling the company." That got her attention. She turned to stare at him. "What?" "I'm selling my share of the business to Richard. I never wanted to be a corporate mogul anyway. Sarah and I used to dream about having a small business together. Maybe a bookstore or a cafe. Something that would let us be present for our family." "David, you can't make a decision like that because of me." "I'm not making it because of you. I'm making it because of us. Because of Amelia. Because I finally understand what matters." Before Keisha could respond, Amelia ran into the kitchen, her face bright with excitement. "Keisha, Daddy told me the plan. We're going to have our own school." "What?" David smiled. "I've been thinking about what you said, about wanting to be a teacher. What if you didn't have to choose between your dreams and our family? What if we could build something together?" He pulled out his laptop and showed her a website. "There's a property for sale about an hour from here. It used to be a private school, but it's been closed for 5 years. We could buy it, fix it up, and create a place for children who need extra help and attention. Kids like Amelia who don't fit into regular schools for whatever reason." Keisha stared at the pictures of the old brick building surrounded by trees. "David, this is crazy." "The best things usually are. Keisha, I love you. Not because you saved my relationship with my daughter, not because you brought joy back to our house, but because of who you are. You're brilliant and kind and strong, and I want to spend the rest of my life watching you change the world one child at a time." "And I could help," Amelia said, bouncing with excitement. "I could help teach the kids who don't have their voices yet." Keisha looked at them both, these two people who had become her whole world without her even realizing it. "What about what people will say? What about your reputation? My reputation doesn't keep me warm at night, David said softly. It doesn't make me laugh or challenge me to be better or love me despite my flaws. You do all of those things. Besides, Amelia added with the wisdom of a child, the people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind. That's what my mommy used to say. Keisha felt the walls around her heart finally crumble. These weren't just pretty words or promises that might not last. This was a man willing to change his entire life to build a future with her, and a little girl who saw her as family. Are you sure? She whispered. I've never been more sure of anything, David said. Me too, Amelia said, wrapping her arms around both of them. 6 months later, Keisha stood in the main classroom of the Whitmore Learning Center, watching 12 children work on their morning projects. Some were like Amelia had been, dealing with trauma that had affected their ability to communicate. Others had learning differences that made traditional schools challenging. All of them were thriving in an environment built on patience, understanding, and love. Mrs. Whitmore, can you help me with this? Asked 7-year-old Marcus, holding up his math worksheet. Keisha smiled at the name she was still getting used to. She and David had married 3 months ago in a small ceremony in their garden, with Amelia as the flower girl and 30 children from their school as witnesses. Of course, sweetheart, she said, kneeling beside Marcus's desk. Through the window, she could see David in the garden with another group of students, teaching them about plants and growing things. Amelia was helping, her voice clear and confident as she explained to a new student how to plant seeds. That evening, as they sat together on their back porch watching the sunset, Amelia curled up between them. Keisha, she said sleepily, I'm glad you decided to stay. Me too, baby girl. Do you think Mommy knows how happy we are? Keisha looked at David, seeing the peace in his eyes that had replaced the old pain. I think she knows. And I think she's happy that we found each other. Good, Amelia said with a yawn. Because I love our family exactly the way it is. As the stars came out above them, Keisha thought about how drastically her life had changed. A year ago, she had been homeless and hopeless, taking a cleaning job out of desperation. Now she had a husband who adored her, a daughter who called her mommy, and work that filled her soul. Sometimes the most beautiful things in life come from the most broken places. Sometimes love finds you when you're not even looking for it. And sometimes a little girl who calls you mommy can change everything. I love you, David whispered in her ear. I love you too, she whispered back. From inside the house came the sound of Amelia practicing piano, her clear voice singing along to a song Sarah used to love. It was the sound of healing, of new beginnings, and of a family that had found its way back to joy. Their story had started with silence and sadness, but it ended with laughter, love, and the beautiful noise of a house full of life. And in the memory garden, Sarah's flowers bloomed brighter than ever, as if blessing the love that had grown in the space where grief used to live.